Hello, and welcome to Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, Comrade Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Who are you, Comrade Question?
Our main topic for this week is going to be Atomic Blonde. But first, Al, what are we drinking? What is it that I poured so horribly for sound effects here? Can you see this?
Yeah, mine's just as bad, actually.
Oh, really?
Take a look at that.
I've got about 1/3 beer, 1/3 foam, and 1/3 empty glass. So I have a little bit more of mistake to make in between.
I'm about at 1/3 beer, 2/3 foam.
I'm gonna pour some more while you tell the folks what we're having. Oh God!
So we're drinking.
We're drinking so much
Keegan Ales Hurricane Kitty IPA. This is another brewery that's right near me. It's in the Hudson Valley. Actually, supposed to be going up to check that place out pretty soon. I have not been previously. I've never had any of their beers, even though supposedly they're really good. And we're gonna try out that theory today. Let me read you a little bit about Keegan Ales.
Let us know, would you?
Thank you for choosing Hurricane Kitty, made by Keegan Ales.
You're welcome.
Our beer is
So
brewed
polite.
and bottled right here in the Hudson Valley. What does that mean to you? It means a clean, crisp glass of beer every time. We promise. Hurricane
Wink,
Kitty is a
wink,
coppery and
wink.
heavily... Wait, what?
Wink, wink.
Hurricane Kitty is a coppery and heavily hopped India Pale Ale. Named after brewmaster Keegan's grandmother, whose driving earned her quite a reputation with local police, racing her six children... Racing her six children to and from a Long Island beach ferry during the 1960s, Hurricane Kitty is the undisputed family favorite. We try to make the hop bill read as aggressively as her driver's record.
Good Lord.
And that's from Tom Keegan, brewmaster.
Thank you.
Also, they go with a little double entendre. Like their logo is a key.
Right.
So I think that was kind of vaguely interesting.
That was actually the first thing I noticed when I grabbed this out of the fridge before is the little key on the bottle cap, and I was like, oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's like a kind of
attention to detail there.
Understated little deal on the cap.
I dig it. So, cheers. I drank that out of the bottle because I can't approach the glass just yet.
Too much foam still?
Too much foam. It's not going down either. Okay. I'll let you go first. I'm going to need a minute to get this out of the glass because the ass of the bottle did not do it for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid beer. I'm actually not a huge fan of this. I mean, it's definitely something that I probably will drink again. But it's not something... What's up?
You said coppery? Copper?
Yes.
Copper something? Is that what the mouthful of pennies is? Is that where that flavor comes in?
I actually think they mean color. I didn't taste any metal in there.
Yeah. Let's see how this is in the glass.
It's not a beer I would seek out per se, but it's pretty common in the area, so I'm sure I'll have it again.
I wouldn't get this again.
That's surprising. I always hear such good things about this brewery, and I think this might be their flagship beer. I could be wrong about that, though. I don't know them as well as I know some other breweries.
Yeah, there's nothing about that flavor that I'm enjoying. I'm not at the point where like I want to pour it out. Like I'll drink this. That will be fine, but I'm not going out of my way for it.
I actually really intrigued by the maltiness of this beer. Like I like the grain bill, but
the what now?
The grain bill.
I thought you said the green bill.
No, the grain bill.
You know what? You could have said green bill. I still wouldn't have known what you're talking about.
Wait, you don't know what a grain bill is?
No.
I thought I mentioned it in the past.
You might have. I might not have been listening.
Good to know what you think about what I have to say for our broadcast. Dick.
Yeah.
So the grain bill is literally just like think of like a bill of lading or whatever. Like it's the list of the different malts that go into the beer and like the ratios that they're at, stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm actually intrigued by the body of this beer, but it's the hops that aren't doing it for me, which is a problem when it's an IPA.
I was gonna say I don't know. Well, maybe IPAs are not what I think they are, but this is not. If you had just given me this, I would not have guessed IPA.
Well, you can tell it is because, or some form of pale ale, because it's very hoppy, but the hops are not really how I'd like them to be. It's not a flavorful IPA, it's just bitter.
Yeah. Help me out here. The flavor that I don't care for in amber ales is what I'm recognizing here. What is that? Is that the maltiness?
I don't know, because the only amber ale that I know both of us have drank is mine, and you loved it.
Yours was fantastic. Let's have that again.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is that you don't like. You'd have to describe it for me, because I don't know.
What I want to do here right now is take a sip of it and go, you know that taste, that's what I don't like. I don't know how else to describe it.
We've had almost that exact conversation once before on this show.
Yeah. Oh, it's there again.
You
it's
did
back.
That thing.
Yeah. The sound is grossing me out.
If it's the maltiness, I'm going to disagree with you there, because I actually like that part of this beer. It's the only part of this beer I'm enjoying. For me, it's the hops almost feel like I'm drinking something burnt. Because it's just like the bitterness is just sitting on like my tongue, but it's not giving me the delicious hop flavor that I drink an IPA for.
I'm just going to go out on a limb there and say that the theme of this show is hyped up and underwhelming.
Yeah, it's I'm unfortunately disappointed in this beer.
Yeah. Well, moving on. That's enough of that.
Yeah, this is
would not recommend. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. This is only the third time.
This is gonna be one of those ones where, like, not that this happens often, but like in about 10 minutes, you're gonna see me just like chug the rest of it and go. But oh look, you have water, you brilliant man.
Oh, I always have a beer and a water for these, man.
I know I can tell you my glass of water. I can tell you exactly where it is on the counter upstairs.
That doesn't help us at all.
So before we get into this flick, there are a couple things that we wanted to bring up. Do you want to start? I've got one, but you have two, so I feel like let's you go, I'll go, you go. You want to do one of those?
Perfect, especially since the first of the things is beer related.
Oh, sweet.
It's a perfect segue. So when last we discussed, I was very downtrodden about my Saison.
You were very sad.
I was able to bottle it. When I repitched new yeast, it hit its number.
Oh, sweet.
Well done. So, and I mean, I tasted a teeny bit of it, but it was really warm and flat and not...
and not good? Is that
no, like, it's not a finished product because I haven't conditioned it. It's not carbonated. It was room temperature. But it tasted like Saison.
All right, sweet.
So that's a plus. I don't know if it'll be good per se, but it won't be horrible. So that's a plus. I'm still holding out hope that it can still be good. There's no reason it shouldn't be. Yeah. I just don't know for sure if it will be.
Hey, well, way to turn it around and hit those numbers. I'll drink to that. Not this beer, but I'll drink to that.
I'll drink a beer to that beer.
Yeah.
The second bit of news, which is nearly infinitely more exciting, is what?
Infinite adjacent.
Yeah, infinite adjacent. I acquired a whole bunch of hardware to start brewing beer all grain.
Oh yeah, here we go.
And on Monday, I brewed my first batch.
Sweet.
Friend of the podcast, Josh Arcaro, who is a famed chef, joined me because he's been interested by this whole thing. And the two of us made this beer. It was a recipe that I had to come up with from scratch. I had to learn a whole bunch of shit and sign up for some software to properly calculate all this. And after making pretty unfortunate mistake at the outset.
Oh, I'm excited for this story.
We were able to bounce back, and based on my projections of where this beer should have started as far as its original gravity, we hit the number on the head, so it should probably be fine.
Nice. Let's go back to the part where you failed, though. Let's talk about that.
So I'll walk you through kind of the high-level, generic, step-by-step what you do. So what I'm doing is a single infusion mash, which...
Sounds like a dance move.
Which, based on the way that we have access to quality malted barleys and stuff now, that works for pretty much any typical recipe now. You have to be using something funky or doing something funky to need to do more. There are sometimes different steps that you could add, so it won't be a single step infusion. It'll be multiple ones, or you could do what's called the decoction mash. So with a single infusion, what you do is you take all of your ground up grains. So for this one, I definitely should have brought down my brewing notebook, but I wasn't thinking about it. Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot I have something I can access quickly on the computer that has all of my stuff. There it is. Okay. So the grains I used for this are American Pale Ale malt, which is a pretty standard base malt. It's the one that is going to carry the majority of like the body of this beer, although it will be dominated by the other flavors because that's a plain pale generic malt. Mm-hmm. I picked Victory malt, which is a trademarked like type of malt, and it's one I'm a fan of. And so I have 6 pounds of pale 2-row malt, 2 pounds of Victory. I had 1 pound of Crystal or Caramel 40 Lovibond malt, which is nice, dark. Adds a nice caramelly, malty flavor and color to the beer. So I have 1 pound of that. And then I added a half a pound of amber malt, which adds a nice, dark amber color to the beer. Pretty small amount because if you use too much of it, it'll just dominate everything else and there'll be no nuance to the flavor at all. So it's a 9.5 pounds total.
Jeez.
Of grain.
Good God.
It's so the style of beer.
That's your baby.
It is.
It's a big baby.
I realized I didn't actually mention the style of beer that I brewed for this time around. So it's a British bitter. It's a British best bitter or special bitter. Those two words are interchangeable. It's kind of what was the forerunner to the pale ale in like England. Like it's what made good beer become a thing.
Okay.
It's the one that like is kind of the archetype of when you picture walking into some old pub and they're grab the tap and pour you something amber colored.
Right.
That's pretty much what they're doing in England. You know, something that, Americans make fun of being served too warm.
Right.
It's probably that sort of beer. So It should be about 4.7 or so alcohol by volume. It'll be about 45 IBUs. So a little bit of bitterness, which it's called a bitter, so kind of to be expected. Mm-hmm. The color should be amberish, not super dark, but not light either.
Right.
So what you do with this type of brewing, all grain, single infusion, you take all that grain, you put it...
Sorry, I was really hoping you were going to say what you do with this type of beer, and I was going to just jump in and say, drink it. Go on.
You got to make it. And I'm going to tell you how. So you take all the grain, you put it in what we call a mash tun, and that's T-U-N, not T-O-N.
Of course it is.
I don't know why. I'm sure I must have read it at some point long ago, and I don't remember. So it's... What I use is literally...
You heard it here first.
What?
You heard it here first.
Stop undermining me, you son of a bitch.
It's so great, though. It's so much fun. I also like that, it's definitely going to come clear on the recording, but I like that you can't hear it clearly, and then you have to stop and say, wait, what?
Yeah, no, I can just hear you're saying something snarky, but I can't actually tell what you're saying usually.
You can just assume it's snarky. That's good.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, it's the tone. It's in the tone. The dark, ominous tone.
Bong. Nailed it. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. How many minutes in are we?
I don't know, but a couple of people who've been listening to our recent episodes have been like texting me and telling me how they enjoy the dark, ominous tones and talk. I was like, well, we keep doing it, and we're probably definitely going to keep doing it.
Oh, yeah.
So what I use is literally a 10-gallon cooler like you would see on like the sideline in a football game with like the spigot at the bottom to like fill water from. Except you pull that spigot out and you put in like a ball valve with a handle.
Okay.
So I actually have 2 of those coolers. One of them only ever holds hot water. The other one is where the actual mashing takes place. That one has a false bottom that keeps the grain up above where the spout leads out of. So you put all your grain in there, and then when you pick your temperature, which you're going to mash at, you figure out there's a certain amount of water at a certain temperature you're going to add.
Okay, wait. I'm going to stop you right here. What's the mash? What is this mash word you keep throwing around?
Oh, like literally that is the making of the beer. Like when you add the hot water to the grain to create wort, that is mashing.
Got it.
I don't know why they call it that. I mean, I guess you technically mash it. You dump it all together and you stir it up.
Okay. Great.
It's as simple as that, actually. It's like literally making a huge thing of tea or soup stock, if you will.
Okay. Now I'm listening. Made some soup earlier today. I understand these words.
Soup. What a dick. So you take all of this grain and you add what they call strike water, which is that first initial hot water you add to bring it up to the certain temperature.
That sounds like a Black Ops one gone bad.
What, strike water?
Strike water.
So I was advised to, before I do any of this, put a bunch of hot water into these coolers and swish them around so that you warm up the inside of the coolers, and that doesn't suck out the temperature of the hot water you bring in, because that will make you miss your number.
Yep.
So I remember that I had to do it, but there was a lot of things going on. So when we were heating up the strike water originally, I was like, oh, I have to swish this water around in before we do it. We're going to lose a few degrees. Let's just go over our initial temperature a little bit. That'll probably even out.
Okay.
It didn't. I was looking to mash it at like 154 degrees, and when I mixed up my mash and everything, I ended up at like 138 degrees. And it's really hard to bring that temperature up once you've done that.
Right.
So we clamped it all down. We mixed it up really good, and promptly ran over and heated a whole bunch more water.
Okay.
And started dumping that in as well, because you can't really start your time, because the whole point is at a certain heat you have to is used to extract the enzymes in the malt to actually get it to be fermentable. It's got to break up the sugar strings into like more easily fermentable sugars. Otherwise, it'll just be a bunch of starchy mess that doesn't actually break down with yeast. And
starchy mess. Definitely calling you that someday soon.
Nice. Yeah, keep that in your
Write
notes.
that one down.
That'll be a good one. But unlike the last time you did this, make sure you wait more than a week.
Oh, yeah.
Like, maybe wait a month.
Yeah. I'll put an extra bullet in between it.
So we finally got our temperature up after I panicked because we were almost out of new hot water. Finally mixed it all up. It hit the number. So I started my clock. You got to let it go for about an hour or so. After about 15 minutes, I went and checked just to make sure that I didn't misread it. No, number was good. I was like, okay, fine. Hopefully this won't be a disaster then. It was definitely too much water, but I don't know. I think that sort of thing just affects like the feel of like the mouthfeel and the body and the head of the beer. It shouldn't actually affect the actual flavor or the fermentability of it.
Okay.
I think.
Time will tell.
We'll find out in a month. So then, we did the whole thing. It took East Kent Goldings hops, which are an old world noble hop, good for this sort of style. Very traditional for this sort of style. Did the whole brewing, hit my number right on the dot. I had created a yeast starter to avoid that issue where my stuck fermentation happened last time.
Not this time.
A little bit worried because I pitched that yeast Monday evening. I checked it yesterday afternoon, and I didn't see any activity in my airlock. But when I checked it tonight when I got home, there was very vigorous fermentation going on.
Ooh.
So a good thing.
Sorry. Vigorous fermentation. Also,
yeah, you heard that correctly.
Also being written down.
That's an industry term, so fuck off.
No. It's my show. I can do what I want. All right.
And it's also my show, which is why I can tell you to fuck off.
You can, but you can't stop me. That's the beauty of it.
Well, that is 100% grade A fact.
I'll never give up the reins of the intro.
What?
I'll never give up the reins of the intro.
Yeah. Or will you?
Won't I?
More on that later.
Duck season. That was pretty cool, though.
You guys all learned how to brew beer today.
I appreciate that. No, that's awesome. I'm excited to see how it comes out. Sure, it'll be better than this garbage party that I'm drinking right now. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it. I have one thing that I want to talk about before we get into the movie, and then a nice little way to get into it. The first thing that I wanted to bring up was MoviePass. Have you heard of this?
I don't know.
MoviePass is a monthly subscription service.
I did just hear about this.
Yeah, because it friggin' blew up in the past few hours. So it was I think it was something like $45 for the membership previously. They cut it down, and it is $10 a month, and you can see a movie a day.
Oh, is that what it was? I just heard, watch as many movies as you want or something.
It's one movie a day.
Okay.
And you can't see the same movie twice.
Okay.
But it's $10 a month, so if you go to one movie, you get. So basically, if there's a theater nearby that supports it, you and me need to buy this thing. Yeah,
so you have to find one that participates in this program.
And then when I was trying to look into that. This is where, all of this came up. I was sitting on the couch. Kim was watching something. I was scrolling through Twitter, and this thing popped up. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I clicked on that, went to the site. I was like, let me just download this app and see what it's all about. Download the app, try to start filling things out. It wants me to actually, create an account and put my credit card in and stuff like that before I could actually see what movie theaters are available. Really? So I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I went online to find out. And then the app wasn't working great, and I was like, oh, this is garbage. And then I went on the website, and I tried to load it up, and it wasn't loading. And I was like, what in the goddamn hell? I was like, this is really slow. I was like, this is crap. The whole thing's a scam. And I signed off. But I was so intrigued that I had to go back to it. So I went back, and I tried again. Same results. So I Googled it. I was like, is the site down? And then found out that this announcement that it dropped to $10 had just happened. So basically the site is being brought down by all these people that are signing up for it.
I had a feeling once you said it wasn't working on the app or the website, I was like, everyone probably flooded this fucking thing once that... See, I had no idea. I didn't know that was a thing before, that it was that expensive.
Right.
I just heard the fact that there was this thing that you could do for $10 a month.
That expensive, sure, but to be fair, I would totally take advantage of that even if it was $45 for someone like me.
I guess I would consider it, but at $10, if I can find one that's for a theater reasonably distanced from me, I don't know why I wouldn't do that.
Right. Exactly. And trying to understand the concept here. So it seems like you use this app to pick up a ticket, and then they're paying full price to the theater for the ticket. It doesn't seem like there's actual partnership with the theaters. It seems like it's a private company that is buying the ticket. I don't fully understand how it works yet, but that's my understanding of it. So basically, they'd be taking a loss at this point in time, and I guess for the reason of if you start to get enough traction to these movie theaters with people that are using this service, they're probably going to be spending, I spend my $10 a month for the movie, every time I go to the movies, maybe I'll buy popcorn or soda or some garbage like that.
Which is where they already make their money anyway.
Right, and then I'm going to guess that this company will then go to those theaters and say, hey, you should give us a cut or we won't support your theater anymore. I don't know what's going to happen or how this is sustainable.
Yeah, it does seem... I'd have to look into it more, but that seems like an odd business model.
Unless they're just, selling a shit ton of the data from the people that are using it, and by all means, sell my data. if I'm seeing this many movies for $10. But it's an odd thing. I'm keeping an eye on it. I will say that when I can finally get through the site, if there's a theater nearby that supports it, I will definitely be checking it out. So there'll be more to come on this as the weeks go on.
Okay.
Now the next thing is on our way to the movie. So at this theater, went to see Atomic Blonde. When was it? Monday night? Went to see it a couple of nights ago, and a lot of things that. So the theater was empty at first. Great, that's fun. I'm okay with that. It's really just me and a couple friends, and then that was it. And then there's two groups of people, and they were the two sets of the worst possible people that you could run into at the movie theater.
Nice.
It was.
Were they movie Spinchoons?
Yeah, you know what? It was 6. It was 5 or 6 Spinchoons. That's what it was. Exactly what it was. It was like a medium pie.
Wow.
It was like 5 or 6 slices. So we have the first thing we have is the people that are in front of me to the left, and when you're loud, like before the preview start, I don't care. I'm okay with that. That's fine if you're talking to each other at a normal volume. That's fine. When the previews come on and your voice doesn't drop at all, I start to get concerned about where this is going to go. And then, obviously, if you're talking during the movie, I hate your guts. But the being loud during the preview, it's like it's already getting my blood pumping, right? I'm getting angry because I know where this is leading. These people are gonna suck. They're really just they're gonna suck the fun right out of this thing for me. Turns out they weren't loud the entire movie. What they were those people that laughed extremely loud at things that were not funny.
So they were high.
And it wasn't. No, they weren't. It was also a very strange demographic. It was like a middle-aged woman, a young guy, and a really old woman.
They could have still been high, man.
They weren't. Let me just throw it out. They weren't. But they were just like, something would happen and it would be like either a serious point or something that just wasn't funny. And it's not something that was like, it's not like it could have been funny to them and not to me. Like it wasn't funny. It wasn't a joke. It was nothing. Like there was nothing funny here, and it was just annoying. And it was almost like they just wanted to make a little bit of noise right now. Like they couldn't hold it in. Like they were doing so well, but then these scenes would happen and they would laugh. And I can't pinpoint exactly the scene because I wasn't looking at the screen at that point. I was staring a hole through the back of their heads. You know how it goes. But then we had the people behind me, and they were the people that talked loud before the preview started, lowered their voice a little bit while the previews were on, but then continued to whisper for the first 20 minutes of the movie. And it's like, if I can hear you whispering, you're not whispering. Not in a movie theater. Not when the sound is that loud. If I can hear you, you're at fault. Like, there's no question here. And then then you start hearing the beers cracking behind you, and I'm like,
beers?
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Not for anything. I was like, if you want to have a drink and you want to sneak that in, I don't care. Whatever. No big deal. But it's Monday. Like, I don't. I think that's probably what bothered me the most. I was like, what are you doing with your life? I'm here enjoying this movie. Wait, so what are you doing?
Was this one of those theaters where you can order alcohol or no?
No.
So they snuck beers in?
Yes.
Nice. Classy.
And in the theater, of all assigned seats, I was the first person to buy tickets. Why are you so close to me? There's nobody else in the theater. Like, I just don't understand. Anyway, these people suck.
Man. You must have picked great seats. If they must have been like, yeah, fuck, I wanted those seats. I'm going to sit right behind them.
It was like we were in like the third to last row right in the middle. It's good. It's a good spot. Don't get me wrong. It's a good spot, man. It is. I get that. And the people behind me, I could see that being like, okay, that's a decent spot too. The people that were off to my left, go somewhere else. You know what? I probably wouldn't be as annoyed if they were right in front of me, because that would have made sense. But they were close in a part of the theater that didn't make sense. I was angry. Al, I was pissed. And every little thing was bothering me.
Would you say that it was grinding your gears?
And it was grinding my gears, I would say that. And then the preview started. And I'm a fan of the coming attraction. I love that. I love watching the previews. I love being to the theater early. I like watching the 20. Do you remember when the 20 was a thing?
No.
That was like they had like trivia and stuff like that, but I was there too early so that the same trivia questions would come by more than once.
They still do a lot of those things. I just didn't know it was called the 20.
Sometimes they do. It depends on what theater you're at. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. This time they did it. The sound was there. The picture wasn't. It was very, very disorienting.
Being at the movie theater with picture with sound and no picture is way worse than being there with picture with no sound. Hang on.
Oh, Al had an idea.
Pause.
No,
I wanted you to actually physically pause.
There's no pause here.
Well, okay.
We're going to do it live. What's happening? Give us the play-by-play.
Come on. Sorry, I'm having a conversation that's not involving you.
Gianna?
Yes, Gianna.
Is that my cousin?
Sure
Hello?
is.
Hi.
You're on air.
Oh.
Hi. Say hello to the people, Gianna.
Hello, people.
Thank you.
What are we talking about?
Did you see Atomic Blonde, Gianna?
I did not see that.
Good move. We'll get to that.
I'll take that glass you broke.
I broke the glass?
Well, it was on the ground and it was broken.
Well, I broke a glass.
Jesus. So we get into the trailers, and like as I was saying, I love watching. I like being there early because I hate when people are like, oh, like we can be a few minutes late. We're only gonna miss the trailers. No, I want to see them. I get excited about them. There were so many though.
I would generally agree with you, except now with all the movies we've been seeing, I keep seeing basically 90% the same trailers over and over again. So now I don't care anymore.
I felt the same way, except this movie, I think I only saw maybe three trailers that I had previously seen, so I was cool with that. The one being the one with Michael Fassbender and the snowman killing people. That I saw that one again. I saw, I think I saw a Star Wars one again. I don't remember, but I saw Ready Player One, which excites me. I don't care, so I was happy to see that one again. This Professor Martin and the Wonder Woman. Did you see that trailer?
No, I'm not familiar with this one.
So this is interesting. This one's about like the creator of Wonder Woman and the three-way relationship of the writer, his wife, and their mistress.
I see.
Like their mutual mistress. And it seems interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, it could go one way or the other. It's like, is this just riding on the coattails of Wonder Woman? Yes. It is. But at the same time, it's the only way that I feel like this movie would work, because I feel like people wouldn't be interested in it if Wonder Woman hadn't come out.
Never underestimate people's ability to get excited about a three-way relationship.
That's true. It's fair.
Now, I would definitely agree with you that it gets a bump from being right after Wonder Woman.
And then, yeah, anyway, it looks interesting. I mean, I'll probably see it. I don't know that I'm running to the theaters for this one. I'll probably catch it when it comes out. I like a good, like, semi-true story. Like, who knows how accurate these things really are sometimes.
Yeah.
You know how it is. And then there was the trailer for The Darkest Hour. Did you see this trailer yet?
The Darkest Hour.
The Churchill flick?
Oh, yes.
So, watching this trailer, I'm like, wait, I know that face. I'm like, who's playing him? Who is that? And then the name Gary Oldman comes on the screen, and I was like, good God, they did a good job on his face.
Yeah, he looks fucking terrible.
Well, yeah. Well done. That looks interesting, though. I'll check that out. Only because, you know, Churchill, interesting. Gary Oldman, fantastic. Love Gary Oldman.
See, it's funny how that movie gets made, because it's right on the tails of Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel the same way about it, though.
Not the same, but it's in the same neighborhood.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't strike me the same way as
you know what? It's more of. It reminds me more of like an Armageddon Deep Impact type of thing. Okay. Where it's like, why are those two movies being made by two separate studios at the exact same time?
Yeah, I could see that, especially when like they do the speech in the trailer, and it's like, It's
Yeah,
what
the speech
follows
from
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Like, featured heavily in the trailer.
Yeah. That's interesting. But I could get behind that. I can get behind the Deep Impact Armageddon of it. Not the Wonder Woman one is straight up like it's the opposite of when the B movie comes out right beforehand and gets released right like to DVD or something. It's just like, wait a minute, they made a shit ton of money off of this, or they're going to make a shit ton of money off this. We need to, because obviously this didn't they didn't just throw this flick together after Wonder Woman did well, like it was in production.
Yeah,
but it's interesting nonetheless. Anyway, there was a ton of trailers. I'm pretty sure it was one of the longest times I sat watching trailers, and I think it was the fact that there were so many, and not that I was in hell with these people behind me and next to me. Neither here nor there. Then this movie starts, Atomic Blonde, and I want to get your take on this movie right off the bat. How do you feel?
Bad. Stop.
No.
No, you forgot I had one more topic.
I thought you did both of them.
No, it was just the first one was Ales.
Mm-hmm.
I have another one, which might take us a couple minutes, or maybe it won't.
Okay, that's fine. Let's get into it.
I just saw this today, but apparently this story's been going on for a couple days. Did you hear that Robert Kirkman is suing AMC?
What? No, I did not.
Kind of a big deal. Both of us are...
I'm going to have to write a second part to my to my story from the other week.
Well, both of us are avowed AMC fans, and Walking Dead fans, and I'm guessing there are definitely members of our audience that are as well. It's like the most popular show on TV. So you're familiar with Frank Darabont suing them a few years ago, right?
The name sounds familiar. I don't know what the...
Frank Darabont is the guy who actually brought it to screen. Like, he was the one,
okay, yeah.
He was the actual showrunner, directed it, wrote it. Obviously, Robert Kirkman and a bunch of other people were involved in the production, but Frank Darabont's the guy who actually brought it to screen. He's,
right.
He's a famous director. Shawshank, Green Mile, stuff like that.
The good season of Walking Dead.
The first two seasons. And the reason that Dale got killed off was because Frank Darabont got the boot.
Okay.
Because Dale is in every Frank Darabont movie ever.
Really?
Well, he was in Shawshank, and he was in The Green Mile, and he's been in a couple other things, too.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's cool.
The Mist. That was another one.
Oh.
Anyway, so not only, though, is Robert... So, yeah, anyway, Frank Darabont sued them a couple of years ago because he claimed they wrongfully terminated him for booting him off the show, as well as he said that he was paid like $300 million less than he was owed.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like not like if he said $3 million, that's one of those like someone's pinching pennies here or someone's being petty.
Right.
$300 million is a lot of money.
Right.
So Robert Kirkman, Gale Ann Hurd, Glenn Mazzara, and David Alpert, some of those names should sound familiar to you, are all suing AMC for not being paid enough.
Interesting.
They all have revenue sharing things, agreements, and
they're like withholding.
All of them are claiming that AMC is artificially over-reporting production costs and under-reporting ad revenue to artificially deflate the profits that hit the balance sheet.
Holy shit. That'd be
so,
crazy. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but that'd be crazy.
Because each of these people has an agreement tied to the profit that's derived from the show.
Sure.
By having artificially deflated profits, they're not getting paid what they quote-unquote deserve.
Huh.
It's a pretty serious fucking allegation.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Frank Darabont suing them, not crazy, because it was after he got fired. Robert Kirkman is the creator of the series and one of the executive producers. Gale Ann Hurd is she the showrunner now? They've changed showrunners 18 times.
Yeah,
She's been a producer since like day one.
Right.
Glenn Mazzara, I know as well, is one of the important producers. I don't actually know David Alpert.
That name sounds familiar too.
But they're all still involved in the show.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's
heavily.
a pretty big fucking deal.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Oh, scandalous. I want to see where this goes.
It really is, and I don't know how this isn't like plastered wall to wall on the internet and TV because like it's the biggest show on television.
Right. I'm very surprised that the first time I'm hearing about this is from you here.
That's what I'm saying. I completely accidentally stumbled on this story and then looked into it and I was like, this needs to make it on the episode tonight. Like I just saw it this afternoon.
As you said it, I typed Rob into Google and it's like Ert Kirkman lawsuit.
Yeah,
like, Jesus.
Because they're all suing for millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. The thing at the top says that all four of them suing, the potential damages could reach $1 billion if they prove it's correct.
Wow. I mean, it's probably. I mean, it could very much be a thing. I mean, because they make a shit ton of money, that show.
Here you go. I'm just like skimming it to look for like kind of important snippets here, and it says Kirkman, whose deal entitles him to 5% of profits from the show, came to what his attorneys say was a related party provision that guaranteed that AMC's transactions with affiliated companies would be on monetary terms comparable to transactions with non-affiliated companies. Alpert, who got 2.5% of profits, Hurd, who got 7.5%, and Mazzara, who took over Darabont's role as the showrunner. That's why I remember his name, because he's the now he was for a couple seasons and got 1.5%. Each cite provisions in their own deals, including most favored nations clauses that allegedly amounted to protection from AMC self-dealing.
Huh.
This is dumb ways you can do to piss off your producers.
Yeah. And, creator of the property.
Well, I think he probably has some sort of poison pill clause that would allow him to pull the show.
Right.
You
gotta wonder.
Yeah, or at the very least would trigger some sort of massive buyout of him.
Right.
So he's getting paid either way.
That'd be great if he's like, they like resolve this, right? And he's, he plays cool for like however many more seasons they go on. And like right before the end, he pulls the plug. Fuck you guys. That'd be so badass. I wouldn't even be upset.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So anyway, I mean, I figured the fact that this story slipped under the radar, like the first run of these articles is all dated August 14th. That's 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's flown this far under the radar, I figured people would be interested to hear about this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely following up on this. I'm gonna keep an eye out because that's really interesting. Because I love the property. I want to know this, and I want to know about the scandal behind it.
I've been catching up. I hadn't watched a single thing while it was airing. This half season of Fear the Walking Dead that just aired. Actually, really good.
Really?
By far the best half season of the show.
Okay. I'm still not. I don't think I can go back to it.
I mean, that's fair. The last half season I liked, which was the end half of season 2. The first half of season 2 was not very good.
Okay.
But the second half of season 2 was pretty good, and this is quite good. I've actually been really enjoying it.
I think it might have been the first half of season 2 where I was like, yeah, all right, that's enough of that.
I think that sounds right, and that's definitely the low point of the show.
Yeah. Upsetting.
Anyway,
I wasted time on that. Atomic Blonde, that movie that we saw. That's good. We had a decent amount of stuff to talk about before we got to this because I don't think we're gonna have a ton to talk about with this movie.
Well, this has been Flix and a 6.
Yeah. No.
Thanks for.
Here's my thing. My review of this movie is shrug emoticon. Like, whatever.
See, I liked it. I ate it right up.
Yeah. Really? Ooh, I'm excited.
I've been basically laying the breadcrumbs to this for quite some time now. I told you how much of a sucker I am for Ludlum stories, and this is almost pulled right off the script of an amalgamation of his greatest hits.
Yeah, okay. Keep going.
I just fucking love these Cold War thrillers with everyone backstabbing and murdering each other. This is what I was raised on. Like, man, I started reading Ludlum way too young. I read The Bourne Identity when I was 11.
That explains a lot.
That's not an exaggeration. I was in 5th or 6th grade when I read the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I read it more than once, actually. And I've read 8 of his books.
Yeah, I see. I could see. I understand what you're saying, and I understand the aspects of the movie that you're probably drawn to. But for me, it did not hit. It's funny, like I didn't think this way going through. Going to see it, I assumed like the first time I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, this is gonna be like a silly. They're gonna do like all the what can we do to make it rated R? What can we do to make it an action movie? What can we do? Like that's how I thought of it the first time I saw the trailer. Then I from seeing some behind the scenes stuff and interesting interviews and things like that, I was like, oh, this actually seems pretty cool. I want to see this. And then I saw it, and within the first 5 minutes, there's running, a car incident, someone getting shot in the head, boobs, and oh my god, I'm such a badass. And I was like, okay. I was like, uh-oh. This is what I was afraid of originally.
See, it's funny because most of my issues with the movie are in about the first 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I don't want you to, like, it's not a technical marvel. Like, this movie isn't perfect by any means, but it did a lot of things that I like in a movie. So I was entertained all the way through.
Don't get me wrong. I do agree with that. I think there's definitely great pieces in the movie, but overall it doesn't work for me.
See, it did for me because the story worked for me because it's what, like I said, I was basically raised on. And I know reading some other people's reviews online, a lot of people got lost in what was going on in the story. But because I'm so involved in that sort of thing, I followed along beat for beat because I'm just so used to it. I was able to pick out a bunch of things that were going to end up happening because it fit the archetype of that story.
Right. Well, but you didn't find that predictable?
Some of it, yes.
Yeah.
But
that doesn't bother you at all?
It didn't because of the way it was executed.
Interesting. Okay. When we get into spoilers, I'd like to hear more about I'd like you to go through the whole thing front to back for me.
Well, I'll say one thing. So maybe a better way to phrase it is, it's not like I read every twist or turn that was coming, but I've been raised to expect the unexpected in this type of story.
Right.
So the shocks weren't as shocking to me as they could have been, but that's not actually a down point for me because they executed it properly. You know what I mean? It was like it's like if you are a big fan of a band,
right,
and you listen to their music and then you go see them and play it live, where when they get to the guitar solo, you expect a certain level of quality and you already know what's coming, but hearing them actually do it is a thrill.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. I didn't feel that way about this movie, but I get that.
But we come at this from different angles. You don't have that same. Not that you couldn't appreciate it, but you didn't grow up reading all those things or watching those style of movies like I did.
Yeah, I guess for me, when I see, I like thrillers like that, and I like twists and turns. What really, really does it for me is when I don't figure out like what's happening, or I don't you really pull a fast one. I love that, and I usually am looking too far into things for that to be the case. So maybe shame on me, but when I'm doing that and it still happens, I get very excited and I'm very proud of your movie. Like when you can shock me like that.
It's pretty rare for big twists to hit me with movies now.
Yeah.
That's just the stage I'm at. I've seen so many movies and read so many things, just like I know what's coming 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about the execution. Because I know what's coming, it's did you pull it off right or were you sloppy? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'm so rarely surprised. Like you said, when you do get surprised, it's like, wow, good on you.
Yeah.
But like since I just go in expecting them not being able to do it, and usually I'm right. So it's did you do it the right way? And it's just I figured it out.
And I can get behind that. I just didn't enjoy the ride.
That's fair. I mean that's not something that you can, distill down, right? Like Either you do or you don't.
I will say there's parts of the movie though that I really, really did like. Like, there's little bits of it. And I'm going to get right into one of them right here. The first off, the choreography is really well done in a different way. It's not over the top well done. Like, it's not like crazy fighting, like just nonsense super fast. What I loved about the choreography is when it slowed down because the people fighting each other were so exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, oh, like, that's a
that
different,
scene towards
that's a
the
different
end.
take. Yeah. And I was like, this is okay, cool. Like, yeah, I can get behind that. That was really fun to me. I thought that was really well done. I don't remember a time where I've seen it done like that.
Yeah, yes and no. The one place that I can think of seeing it is the ultimate parallel this movie's always going to get brought to, and that's John Wick. Mm-hmm. And that's because David Leitch, I don't know how to pronounce his name, was also involved in the John Wick movies.
Okay.
Or at least the first one. He co-directed that movie.
Yeah, but that's a complete opposite to me. Like, the choreography of that is so fast-paced and constant and over the top.
Yeah, but it's a different actor and actress. The point is, you see the toll rise on the actor as the movie goes on.
Sure.
John Wick is not the same crisp fighter he is in the beginning of the movie as at the end. You know what I mean?
Right. But that's just a touch, though. In this movie, it's like the person from the beginning of the fight to the end of the fight is completely worn down to the point where, like, falling and dragging themselves across the floor. Like, that was really cool.
Oh yeah, it was incredibly visceral. I mean, I've been seeing some jokes on the internet about the hot plate and never seeing hot plates the same way again. I mean, I guess we should, considering we're talking fight scenes right now, like, let's just do the spoiler.
Oh yeah, screw it.
Because, like, we're dancing around some cool specific stuff. Like, let's just do it.
All right, the spoiler veil has been it's gone. We're here. It's
yeah.
happening.
So that scene that is the staircase fight and that whole fight in the building, like the shit with the hot plate, that one dude who she went toe to toe with nonstop and like just fucking disassembled him.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah, that was intense. And then he totally, like, he diehards it and comes back at the end. I was like, good God, he's on the windshield. And then, but like, he is so casually murdered after that scene.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, nice. that's how I felt about that.
And also the way that whole thing was shot was really cool, right? They do it as all one long continuous shot in the staircase and everything.
Yeah. That was like probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, was that action sequence, and it was just because it was just like I said, the choreography was just really well done there, and it
was a spectacle, and you get to see all the ingenuity of the actors, of the characters as they're grabbing different weapons and trying to kill each other and all that sort of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you see like that one guy that's basically like, well, he ends up dying, but he's like gotten his death sentence already, so he's like fighting with everything he's got, and it's like pure rage, like he wants to kill her for killing him. And then he just dies and falls down the stairs, and I was like, oh, thank God we can take a breath. I was like, this guy just keeps coming. He's like a goddamn zombie.
Similar to us talking about Dunkirk in the previous episode, where you're left out of breath a few times. Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, like, when you're talking about that guy who's like basically knows he's dead and doing that.
Right.
Like the same thing with the Eddie Marsan character, Spyglass. Mm-hmm. He gets shot in the gut at the beginning of that scene, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to like duct tape himself up, and he's in the corner. She's fighting and trying not to die, and she's trying to help him. And then he realizes, oh shit, I'm fucked if she doesn't get
right
up off the mat here. And he throws himself at that guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Cracks him upside the head.
Yeah, it's intense, and then that all of that to see them get hit by the car and him drown, and I was like, oh, damn it, you don't make it.
See, that's one of those things where it's like that one almost got me, but that guy clearly was going to be important with the way he popped up at the beginning of the scene. But all the fuckery that went on, it's easy to understand how you might forget he was coming back.
Oh yeah, that one didn't surprise me when, especially the way that the scene right before it was shot, like they cross this intersection of nonsense and the other guy gets slammed. I was like, this can just as easily happen to, you know what? It's going to bang, and then they get thrown into the water.
Actually, I know we're doing a little bit of a spoiler here. You know, something that's coming up for us in the future, but. You ended up watching Scott Pilgrim, right? We'll just reveal it now. We're going to do an episode on Scott Pilgrim vs. the World in the future, probably next week. When that guy rammed them off the road, my exact thought was, "Hey, that one guy."
Yeah. And he takes his neck brace off, and I'm like, "Okay, we get it. You did a thing. Shut up." That could have easily just been an autopiloted car, and like your character was useless. I was so annoyed, but yeah, I knew that.
Even going back to like the opening scene when that KGB or Stasi agent rammed the shit out of Gascoigne in the opening sequence. Mm-hmm. Like there were some brutal car deaths in this.
Yeah, that I was like, ow. You did it again. Don't back up and run him. Oh. And then shot in the face. That big guy, though, not a lot of screen time after that.
I mean, would he get one more scene? Two more
scenes? I think, yeah, 2 more scenes. One where he shows up again, another one where he dies.
Yeah, there was a scene where he goes to the watch dealer, which, by the way, I kind of love the watch. What's that?
Hugo Stiglitz.
Yeah. I kind of like that the watch thing. It was kind of actually to draw another parallel to John Wick.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Reminded me of him going in to see the sommelier.
Mm-hmm. That was like a cool little bit of world building, but then it just that was it. It just disappeared after that.
Well, they did it 2 or 3 times.
It was just that one thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that we mentioned with John Wick that I love so much is like all of the different pieces of the world that they've created in the story. This was just one really cool little thing, and then that was it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Also, not nearly enough Hugo Stiglitz. I love that guy. He's great. All I can think about is him in Inglourious Bastards. He's fantastic.
I've actually never seen that.
Well, we're doing that movie at some point. Oh, man. Oh, I love that movie. All right. It's on the list. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Anyway, moving on. Oh, God, I lost my notes. Al! Okay, one thing that really pissed me off, and I know it did to you, too, because you mentioned it before I had seen the movie. And I was like, oh, how bad is this going to be? The spray paint? Just stop. Stop spray painting things on the screen. It doesn't make any sense. It is unnecessary.
That one was like, when I was watching it, I was like, seriously?
Yeah.
And then they kept doing it, and I was like, you're going to need to stop, otherwise you're just going to piss me off, and I'm not going to try and embrace the rest of this experience. Well,
yeah, and they did it for what? They did it the first, maybe 30 minutes of the movie, and then it stops, and then I was like, okay, good. And then, right towards the end, it comes back. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, the thing is, it got to the point where it was considering it was another break in time and change in location, you knew they were going to do it. I know why
they did it.
What?
I know why they did it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, well, the point was, I think they were going to do it the whole fucking movie, and that was going to drive me insane. So I was like, they better knock it off, and they finally did. What?
I just went, just the spray paint sound. Just stop. Just.
That's what I said. This movie was kind of like Baby Driver meets Suicide Squad meets Guardians of the Galaxy meets John Wick. Mm-hmm. Because this whole thing with the soundtrack was really intense, really intrinsic to the experience.
Sure.
There's a lot of stylized stuff, like that stupid fucking spray paint. That was purely out of Suicide Squad, and they could have just fucked right the hell off with that.
Yeah.
And I like the soundtrack. Mostly, a couple times it kind of got close to being too much. It didn't fit as seamlessly as a Guardians or a Baby Driver did.
Absolutely not. So the soundtrack itself is great. The music choices are fantastic. The problem is the use of those songs and the way that they tried to utilize the music the way that those other movies did. And they did one particular thing and this is probably one that bothered you too. They did the thing where like the fight would start and the music would get really loud to drown out the sound of the violence that's happening in the background. And it was the first time it happens, it's really cool and fun, and then it happens again, and it happens again, and then it happens again. I'm like, all right, we get it. You did this one. let's move on to a different shtick.
Some of them I thought did fit pretty well. Some of them less so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what song it was but when she's in the apartment and she turns the stereo on, that I actually liked.
That worked for me.
A little bit of breaking the fourth wall.
Mm-hmm. I liked that a lot. That was the one that worked. I feel like.
Yeah, that was definitely I think in the win column. It was cheesy as fuck, but it did fit at the very end when they played London Calling.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other one that did it for me was not a way that they utilized the music, just the track. There was a Depeche Mode song that popped on, and I was like, I love this. I really like the music choice in this movie. This is really great.
That's the one from the trailer, right?
I don't remember if it was in the trailer.
Or did I get that wrong? What song is it?
I'm looking it up right now. There might have been more than one, but there's one particular scene. It's like 2/3 of the way through the movie. It's not that serious. It's like, you know, when they run to get through the door, like they got off the train and they're running through the door, and like the guy with the dog is coming after them. The song starts, I'm pretty sure, like right then. I can't remember what it was. It's not used in any other way. It's not used with like as like an effect throughout an action sequence or anything. It's just a good background song that's playing during it. And I like Depeche Mode, so hearing that I was just like, oh, this is fun, right? We're just doing 80s music, and this is great. I love this.
Yeah, Personal Jesus was in the trailer. Is that the song you're talking about?
Was that the one that was playing? I feel like it was something else. Was there another one that's on the list?
Well, honestly, the only two Depeche Mode songs that I know are Enjoy the Silence and Personal Jesus.
I'm gonna look.
And I don't think Enjoy the Silence was in the song. That was in the movie. That was in
Your own, yeah.
That was in the trailer to Ghost in the Shell.
Sorry, it's complete sidetrack here. I'm scrolling through the IMDb page. I got down to plot keywords: Cold War, spy, topless female nudity, KGB agent, based on a graphic novel. That third one. Stop. Just stop.
Topless nudity.
Oh my god, it's so silly. Stupid. But yeah, just the music throughout the movie is a lot of fun to listen to. James McAvoy, I like him, man. He's a good actor.
He sure is.
He's wonderful. She was great in the movie too, Charlize.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like sorry,
she would have to be because this is very much her movie.
Yeah, the two of them were great. I mean, not to steal thunder from the lead, but I always liked James McAvoy, and then like his role, like he's a crazy person in this movie, and it's great.
Well, yeah,
the first time you see him on screen,
they let him cut loose and be this like over the top caricature.
Mm-hmm. That scene. It's in the trailers. So you probably, if you haven't seen the movie, you've seen this at least probably. But he's like, "Let me help you with your bags," and he just opens the trunk and the bags fall out. That little bit of humor right there got me. I was just cracking up, and I had seen it a million times in the trailer, but for whatever reason, it strikes a chord. I just find that so funny.
Oh, this is a dark, serious, heavy movie for most of its run, but there were some funny things that happened.
Yeah. I do remember chuckling a few times. Not the times that the people in front of me in the theater were chuckling, ass clowns. But yeah, there's a couple laughs here and there. When she calls John Goodman a cocksucker, that was pretty funny. That that got a chuckle. I love him.
Yeah, he was good in this role. And I thought they were just going to have him be the stuffy guy in the office, but getting to see the two of them together in Berlin, I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. He was cool. The what's his face? The guy that was behind the glass.
See?
Yeah.
It's typical. Yeah. That's a typical name for the guy who runs MI6.
I was trying to think of his name in Game of Thrones. Randall.
What?
Randall Tarley?
I was going to say, well, spoiler alert for Game of Thrones here, guys, but he's the dude who just got set on fire this week?
Yeah, he got set ablaze, as it were. It wasn't even a fire. He just evaporated. That's gone.
I guess it's perfect that Tyrion tried to send him to the wall because his watch most certainly just ended.
Yeah. Burned. Sorry, I'm not
literally
proud
and
of that.
metaphorically.
Stupid. But James McAvoy being crazy, running around, spying on people, bugging people. I liked him. With his shaved hair and his really diabolical laugh that makes you very uncomfortable every time he cracks himself up.
Way too much.
It was a little much. But yeah, overall, the movie just doesn't. I like these little parts of it, but like I said, the thing as a whole just didn't really work for me. And I want to hear from you, going through it. We're in total spoiler territory. Like going through the twists and turns of the movie. What draws you to the movie? So
before I do that, let me ask you: did you get the story?
I believe I got the story.
Well, because what I was seeing online is a lot of people didn't get it, especially the final scenes.
The Return of the King endings?
Yes and no. It wasn't quite Return of the King.
You're right. It wasn't because each one changes it. I will say, as much as I didn't care, there is a scene that I loved. It is on when she gets on the plane at the very end, and John Goodman flips the watch and puts it in his pocket. I was like, that's cool, man. that's a cool scene.
So did you get what that whole thing was about? Not the watch, but just what happened in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Like clearing up the list kind of thing?
Yeah. Or what her specific job and who she was actually reporting for. Do you know what that... Did you get that?
She was reporting to the U.S. to clear up the list. That's how I understood it.
Okay. So not only was she reporting to the U.S., she was a CIA agent the whole time.
Right.
But for most of the movie, you think she's an MI6 agent, especially considering she seems to be directly reporting to C.
Okay, I got a different vibe from the first scene in the the debrief room with John Goodman. There was a connection between the two characters that I felt there.
Yes. But even before that is her talking to C and the other guy.
Yeah, that little weaselly looking guy.
Eric Gray, the Toby Jones.
I'm your superior.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
He kind of always plays that character.
Yep.
He's good at it.
Yeah.
Basically the same character kind of that he played in Captain America / The Avengers and everything else he's ever been in. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the things why I said it got me being a fan of Love Them and everything. So you think that she's just this super spy for most of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you're an astute watcher, you'll start to question whether or not she is actually a double agent, right?
Right.
What was the name of I can't remember. What was the name of the person that they kept using the call sign for that no one knew who was on the list?
Satchel.
Satchel, that's right.
Yeah.
So it turns out that she's Satchel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she frames James McAvoy for being Satchel because most of the movie they kind of made it hinted that it was him.
Right.
Especially the way he seems so determined to get the list. It seems clear that it's because he doesn't want anyone to find out that it's him.
Yeah, his clear ulterior motives, the fact that he's doing something else the entire movie makes you okay, this is the guy. I get that.
Okay, so the term I'll use here for those of you who aren't super heavy into the Ludlum-esque Cold War thriller is what she is an agent provocateur. And so the idea behind that concept is that she's someone who's sent to shake things up. Her job isn't necessarily to do any one thing other than to shake things up so much that the people who are involved in whatever clusterfuck's going on, they will ultimately fuck up, and she's just going to wipe them all clean.
Right.
That it doesn't matter whether she was working for the U.S. or the British or the Russians, although it was very important that she was working for the Americans. But the kind of the whole point behind it is that her job wasn't to get the list per se. Her job wasn't to avenge Gascoigne's death per se. And the whole time she was doing this, the British thought she was working for them. So that's how good of an agent she is, that they had no idea she was actually working for the CIA. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because technically that does kind of make her almost like a double agent, except she's not betraying the West to communists. It's kind of more like friendly fire. But her goals served the British and what they wanted out of that whole situation. But the idea was at the end, it looks like she was actually double agent and the Russians were the ones running her. And it turns that she was the one doing it the whole time. And you realize just how many threads she's been pulling this whole time. Mm-hmm. And I think that may have confused a lot of people who were watching it, because that was what I was reading online.
Okay.
Because a lot of people didn't get that. Like, they got that she killed the Russian guy and she wasn't actually double agent, but they didn't get what that all meant.
Right.
So basically, in this sort of situation, what would be done is it's such a colossal mess that's going on that you send, instead of sending in someone with a mop to clean it up, you send someone in with the flamethrower.
Yeah, to burn it. I like that.
And that's what an agent provocateur does.
Okay. And that's cool. And I got that. It didn't, for whatever reason, it just didn't really, I just didn't find it very interesting. And I don't know if it was the way that it was done or what. It just didn't grab me.
It could be it. It could be that the execution didn't work for you. It could just be that for people who aren't super into that sort of story, that level of hoops that people are jumping through doesn't connect with you. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that you understood it and it didn't work for you is just a matter of taste, right?
Sure.
Which is to your credit. Like, you got it, you followed it, like, you weren't confused by it. It just didn't work for you, and there's nothing that can be done for that, right?
I will say that there's one thing I don't fully get, and that is I don't fully get James McAvoy's character. And what he's actually doing. I didn't follow that, to be honest with you.
So James McAvoy is Peter Baelish.
How so?
He's someone
I know he's playing multiple people. I get.
And he's playing both sides against each other.
Yeah, but what's his end game?
His end game is that he's alive and he has power and he has money. But one step further than a character like Baelish is, he's just an adrenaline junkie.
He's just like, he wants to stay in this life that he's currently in, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I got that from like the fucking Berlin line or whatever it is that he says. Like, I got that he
Berlin.
That he's so into it. I get that. Is that all there is to it?
He's just an agent of chaos. This is his life, and he probably wasn't that when he started. Most of those characters
that intrigues me. If he wasn't like that, and like he became that way from being there for so long, because it was like 10 years that he was there, right?
And there's been a bunch of characters like this in these Cold War movies who just the game becomes its own game.
Right.
That you no longer play a game to win or to accomplish one thing. You play the game for the game's sake.
Right.
Because that's your one true motivation in life. That's your one true thrill.
Interesting.
And he was a rock star, right? He's got these fucking huge parties he's doing. He takes home a different beautiful woman or women every night. He gets drunk. Everyone comes to him for all this sort of stuff. He has all this clout. He's his own he's like a fucking, like, warlord in the middle of these war-torn streets. Like, he's just, that's what he is.
Yeah. Why did he kill Delphine?
because she knew that was what his game was. She knew
that
she had the picture.
Around.
What?
That he's just like living this way now.
Yeah, she had evidence that proved that he wasn't playing a long con against the Russians, that he was willing to collaborate with the Russians if it served his own ends. Mm-hmm. The fact that he wasn't truly a British agent anymore, he was an agent for himself. And his game doesn't work if people think that he's not doing his job.
Right. So for Lorraine's character, then, is the relationship with her and, was it Gascoigne? Is that real?
I'm inclined to say yes.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if you said otherwise, I'd be concerned.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say yes, although I understand why you'd ask the question.
Right. Because
we see just how cynical and just how much she's just doing her job through all of it, but it seemed very personal. And actually, she said something at the end when she kills the Russian guy, didn't she?
I think she
Maybe
does.
I misremembered that.
She might. But like the relationship there, like they touched on it a few times, and the parts that make it real are the fact, or when they touch on it when nobody's watching. That's how I feel like that's how you can find points of truth in something, like in a movie or story like this. If the character's on their own doing something, those things are generally genuine.
Yes. It's the things that they do when they don't have to put on the facade.
Right. So like when the scene in the beginning when she's taking her ice bath and like she's like torn up, and then like there's a recall to his character, and then the scene where she finds the picture of his character and James McAvoy's character, Percival, like she's alone in those scenes, and like she like there's like whatever the emotion is, like rage, sadness, there's a connection between her and this guy, and then there's I don't really get so she did get some sort of attachment to Delphine then.
Yeah, I think that was real too, for whatever it was. Like I think it was kind of one of those any port in a storm type of things, but I think that she did genuinely care about it. Not that it was going to be like they were going to go right off in the sunset together. You know what I mean?
Right. But she didn't want to see her die. Like.
Yeah, because I think probably it was one of those cases where she's been doing this for so long, and Delphine's just started off. She probably sees a bit of herself in her.
Right.
And I think she probably not reminded of that innocence per se, because I doubt there's anyone who's really innocent in that line of work, but just that like kind of fresh-eyed vigor, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, that's interesting. Yeah, so those relationships are interesting throughout the movie, but yeah, I don't know, it just didn't grab me. I guess this is just one that it just didn't land for me. Yeah,
I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it well enough. It's something that if I see it on HBO or something, I'll throw it on the background like whenever it comes out onto TV, you know what I mean?
I think I would throw it on the background just to hear the music. I really did enjoy that music.
And the fight scenes were exhilarating, and I mean, for me, the story was interesting. It worked because I guess part of it's probably even like just like a nostalgia thing, just because was connected to those sorts of stories.
Right.
But I could see how it wouldn't land for other people. Like, I guess I get it.
Yeah. Cool. What other topics do you have for this film?
Well, I was wondering whether part of the reason that it seemed like your immersion didn't work so much. Did you have an issue with the way that the movie delivered the story, kind of splitting the narrative between real-time stuff and her reporting back to them?
No, I love that.
Okay.
I will say for sure that part of my issue was with the audience of the film. So it could have also been that the beginning of the movie I was in a sour mood from not being able to hear everything and missing portions of it because of these garbage people that were in the theater with me.
Wait, you have an issue with the people who haul away your trash?
No. God bless those guys.
No, Lenny was a trash man for many years.
No, not garbage men, garbage people. People living in the trash.
I liked it. I thought it was an effective way to give you that physical pause, and I think because this is another one. This is why kind of some of the reasons I brought up some of these points is I saw some of the critiques, and actually most of the reviews I saw of this movie were overall like a net positive. Not that I saw anyone said they so loved this movie or whatever, but everything I saw was like good to, quite good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But some of the complaints I saw were stuff about the plot being too convoluted, or not understanding the ending, or some people thought that it was breaking the story, breaking the immersion with them going back to those scenes with the two agents debriefing her.
Yeah, I liked that portion of it.
Yeah, I thought that wasn't people. I didn't think that was the people making the film missing the point. I actually thought that was a conscious choice to make sure to cause that break so that you can reset yourself. I
thought it was an actual like a solid pacing choice, not a bad thing. Yeah,
I agree with you. That's why I was confused why people had issues with that. That was something that I know I brought up and talked about in a previous episode. I don't remember which one it was now, but it was the idea I was saying in like literature where, in like kind of postmodern writing, where they put like footnotes or something in a story to physically cause you to leave the page and break the storytelling before you come back to it. I look at this sort of thing as a similar forced pause. You know what I mean? Like, before we go on to what comes next, take a breath. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what movie we were talking about. Whatever it was, I feel like you liked it and I didn't agree with it.
It was Mr. Nobody.
Right. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. Not that the movie was bad, but I didn't like that portion of it. I didn't like that. See, okay, here's a big difference. One, in this movie, it's very much part of the narrative when they break out like that. In that movie, it was like a little bit of a mind fuck as it happened. And it was these strange scenes that I don't feel personally added to the movie at all. I thought they took away from it. Okay. Not because of the pacing and the breaking, because of the scene that was used to do it.
That's fair. But sometimes some of these, we'll call them creators, content creators, sometimes they kind of do that on purpose as a point to be kind of absurdist.
And sometimes they have to sue AMC to get their money.
That's a different matter entirely. We were talking about Delphine a little bit, but now in the last couple of years, Sophia Boutella has kind of really made quite the name for herself.
She could have really benefited from her trampoline sword legs in this movie. I really feel like that would have helped her out of a couple of binds.
Almost definitely. There's few situations that aren't improved with sword legs.
Oh, sorry. I just remembered another scene that made me crack up. When James McAvoy is stabbed in the back and then falls onto the wall and it pushes it further in, and he's like, "Gah!"
Yeah, that was strong. That was one of those little details that was nice. Like, hey, you know what? That is how that would happen.
Yeah. And then he couldn't get it out. Just to pour onto that, like he couldn't reach it to pull it out of his back. That was
which
great.
I can totally relate to because that's often how I feel when I'm trying to take my shirt off after the gym. I also have flexibility in the reaching behind my neck issues.
That's great.
So I was right there with him.
No, her character was interesting. Whatever.
Well, I more just meant her in general because I never heard of her before Kingsman.
Yeah.
And she was good in the limited screen time she gets there. But then she was in Star Trek movie. She was in this. She was in the Mummy movie that just came out a couple of months ago.
She was in that? She's the Mummy, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's building quite the resume in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's cool. See where it takes her.
I was just wondering if what you think of her now that she's built up a bit more screen time. Because I like her.
She was good. I like that she had lines in this movie. Kingsman, she was cutting people up with her feet. In this movie, she's talking. No, but I think she can. I think she would be an asset to other films going forward. I'd have to see more.
Star Trek Beyond?
I didn't.
Okay.
That was the third one, right?
Yes.
I didn't see that one.
I know that they introduced her as a character that I'm guessing was supposed to be a character that comes back in the future. I don't know for sure. She may have ended up dying in that movie, for all I know, because I never saw it.
Mm-hmm. Is she going to be in anything coming up? Let me see. I will look that up.
I'm looking now. She's in some movie called Hotel Artemis that I've never heard of before.
Okay.
That
Fahrenheit 451.
has a weird cast. I can't tell if this is a comedy or something serious.
She was in Street Dance 2.
That means nothing to me.
Oh, so I take it she's a dancer. She's credited as dancer in a few things.
I'm just going to rattle off a couple of names to you. Sophia Boutella, Jenny Slate, Dave Bautista, Jodie Foster, Jeff Goldblum, Charlie Day, Zachary Quinto. Can you tell me what that movie is likely to be?
Huh.
Half of that group is
Star Trek. What'd you say?
Half of them are from action movies.
Yeah. When you listed all those off, were you reading them from a list of a cast on a movie?
Yeah.
A movie that is out already?
A movie that is currently being made.
Currently being made.
It seems to be really early in production.
List the names again?
Sophie Boutella, Jenny Slate, Dave Bautista.
Who's she?
Jenny Bautista. Oh, no, sorry, Jenny Bautista. Jenny Slate is. Hang on a second. Let me see if I've got this right before I say it. Pause. Sorry, Jenny Slate is the worst.
Is the worst?
She's the worst.
Oh, the worst. That?
Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so Sophia Boutella, her, Dave Bautista, Jodie Foster, Jeff Goldblum, Charlie Day, Zachary Quinto, Sterling K. Brown. I don't know him. I skipped him.
That name sounds familiar also.
He was Chris Darden in American Crime Story. He's on This Is Us.
Okay. Yep. That's where I know him from.
Yeah, I thought I remember maybe hearing that either you and or Kim watched it.
Yep.
But yeah, that group of actors and actresses, I feel like half of them need to go off and go make a movie together, and the other half need to go off and make a movie together somewhere else.
But instead,
they're all together.
What are they in?
It's called Hotel Artemis. It literally says under the description, plot kept under wraps.
Huh.
Described as a futuristic thriller.
So all these people know information.
Yes, correct.
All right, that's IMDb. Can we find out anything more about this Artemis?
And then she's going to be in a movie about Fahrenheit 451, which looks to be a TV movie.
Yeah. Huh. Jodie Foster starring in thriller Hotel Artemis. Variety. Okay. I'm getting nothing.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on from this topic.
Thriller Hotel. Why is it under? What is this? What's the secret? Maybe is it a? Do you think maybe the name of the movie is one of those like not? It's just like a project name, like not the name of the movie.
I suppose that could be possible. Although typically when they have a cast list this big, that they've usually moved past that stage.
Right. Which is interesting.
Like a couple of them even had character names.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
I gots to know.
Stay tuned.
This is
for
the
more
worst.
on that later.
Oh, man. All right. Do you have anything else you want to touch on with this movie?
Not really, other than to say that I definitely want to tune in for those fight scenes again. It's pretty badass.
There's some pretty cool fight scenes, yeah. But overall, I mean, if it's on, maybe and I'm bored and I don't feel like reaching for the remote to flip the channel further, I feel like I'd leave it.
I overall enjoyed it. It's a movie that I'll almost definitely watch again at some point.
Nice. I like when we don't.
I like
when we don't see eye to eye on it.
What?
I like when we don't see eye to eye on the movie. Doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I mean, we mostly have pretty similar tastes. We haven't had a movie yet that you liked quite a bit that I haven't liked, have we?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. We'll have to keep an eye out for one of those.
I guess.
Send it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if you like Inglourious Bastards or not.
Well, as I say, I guess you have to really piss me off to make me hate something.
Right.
I'm kind of more inclined to be overall a little bit positive towards these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of stand by the fact that I didn't hate any of these things we watched. Like I've at least felt averagely about everything we've seen. None of it offended my sensibilities.
I feel like there was something that we were the opposite on. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to go back to the records and see.
Well, it seemed like you didn't really like Ghost in the Shell, but I kind of liked it.
Oh yeah, that was just fun.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. It's not the other way around. Got it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we haven't had that yet. More to come. That's it for this week's Flix in a 6. Check out Spinchoon.com each week for new content. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, cheers.